Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So unfortunately in the UK right now we're still in lockdown, meaning that we can't ride on motorbikes. So today I thought I'd give you 5 quick riding tips that hopefully make you a better rider, and when all this is over, hopefully a faster rider as well. Let's get into it. Right guys, so tip number 1. Now this is before we even get on a motorbike. So the first mistake I see a lot of riders making is not looking far enough down the track. Have you ever been riding and you've crashed or you've made a mistake and you thought, what have I just hit? And that'll be a problem with not looking far enough down the track. You haven't seen what you've been hitting. So if you're looking a metre in front of a mudguard or just at the end of a mudguard, so whatever you see you'll hit, whether that be a stone, a root, a rock, a piece of mud or a puddle or whatever. Whatever you see in front of that mudguard, you haven't got enough time to react in order to get away from it. If you need to be looking 10 metres, 15 metres down the track to anticipate what you're going to hit. So as you're coming around a corner, if there's a corner after straight away, as soon as you exit that first corner, you need to be looking at the next corner straight away. You don't need to be looking at the exit. You need to be looking 10 metres down the track. And the quicker you're going, the further you need to look, because the quicker you're going to arrive at that point. And this tip, guys, is absolutely essential for riding a motorbike, whether that be off-road or on-road. And that's enduro, motocross, super enduro, anything you're doing, you need to be looking really far down that track. It's the same principle as driving a car. When you're on a motorway, when you're on a fast road or a highway, you're not looking at the end of the bonnet, you're looking really, really far down the road to give you enough time, if anything happens, to react to that. And it's the same principle on a motorbike. You need to be looking really far down the track to give yourself time to react to any possible dangers. So guys, tip number 2, always stand on the balls of your feet. Now when you're riding a motorbike, you need to be constantly moving about like a boxer. You can never stand still. On a motorbike you need to be fluid, you need to work with the motorbike, and that means moving about, even on the foot pegs. It's the first point of contact your body has got with the motorbike, and that's why it's so important. So when you get on the bike, you need to be on the balls of your feet. Now this allows you to move about freely and loose, and that's one of the most important aspects of riding a motorbike. You need to be loose and working with the bike, not against it. Because the bikes weigh over 100 kilos, you won't work against it because it'll always win. But guys, always remember to keep your toes pointed in. Now this is for a few reasons. One, I've actually seen a lot of people ride with their feet like this, and they get caught in ruts or caught in a tree stump or anything like that, and it can just be a disaster. I actually lost a whole season in 2015 for this exact reason, and I destroyed my ankle, so don't do that. If you ride flat-footed and with your toes pointed out, there's a number of reasons why it's completely wrong. First reason is that you've got no suspension in your legs apart from at your knees and your hips. You've got no suspension in your ankles or any feeling in your feet. It's just completely wrong, and you're going to hurt yourself. Secondly, your knees will always bend in the direction that your legs are pointing, so you won't follow the bike like that. Your knees will bend outwards like this, and it's like riding a trials bike. But what happens is when you're going faster, as your knees start to bend, the bike starts moving about, and that's when the bike becomes really unstable. So to fix this, firstly you want to get on the balls of your feet, and look how much difference that makes. When I hit a bump or when I hit a jump, you've got an extra bit of suspension in your ankles, and that's not only with your hips and your knees as well. It just makes the ride so much more comfortable. And then also that allows you to be a lot looser on the bike, so you can freely move about. You get the brake, get the gear lever, you can be a lot more loose on the bike and actually work with the bike. So if the bike starts to get away from you, or if you hit a few bumps, you can actually move with the bike. You've got a lot more control in the lower half of your body. And also, if you keep your toes pointed in, your knees will, like I said, follow your legs. And when you hit a bump, your knees will actually follow the bike and grip the bike always. And that's really, really important. So guys, you need to be gripping the bike really, really hard with your knees. And that is because your main hinge of your whole body is at your hips. Now if your legs are completely open like this, your hips are not only not doing their job, but the bike is so moving about, it's really, really unstable. And if you close it all up, grip the bike with your knees and hinge at the hips, you can not only control the bike loads better and stronger, but you can also relieve lots of pressure off your hands, relieve an arm pump and fatigue and stuff like that. Meaning that you could almost control the bike just from the lower half of your body. Loads better, loads more stable. So to recap, get on the balls of your feet, on the foot pegs, keep your toes pointed in, stay nice and loose and grip that bike with your knees. So working out your body, tip number 3 is about your hips and your core. Now how many of you guys struggle with arm pump and fatigue in your shoulders and your arms? And how many of you guys, when you're riding, stand up flat-footed and straight body? That's where you get wrong. This tip will stop all of that. What you need to do, like I said in a tip previously, is to get on the balls of your feet, and the main hinge in the whole of your body is at your hips. You need to rotate your pelvis and your hips out like that and keep your core strong. Notice how my back is completely straight, it's not rounded like this, because that puts more pressure on my shoulders and my arms. So from your legs, you need to keep your hips turned out, your back straight, and that takes so much pressure off your arms and your shoulders and just gives them a break basically. You could almost control the bike from the low half of your body. Think of it as your arms are only used to hold on and steer the bike. From your core down is actually used to control the bike. If you're in that position, you can almost control the bike without using your arms. They're just used to hold on. So as you get a bit quicker and a bit more advanced, you'll start understanding that all of the control of the bike comes from your core down. And if you've ever ridden an enduro test, a tight test where there's lots of tight turns around the trees, you'll start to understand that it's not actually turning or using your shoulders to muscle the bike around, because you'll just get so tired straight away. All of that flicking power comes from your legs and your hips, and that all the control is from your hips. So in this tip, keep your hips out, your core engaged, nice and strong, and give your arms a rest on the handlebars. So tip number 4, don't sit on the mudguard. Now this is a big mistake I see a lot of people making when they're cornering, is simply sitting too far back on the bike, and it makes the bike really hard to control because the rear end has got all the weight, the front becomes really light and starts to push in the corner. So if you're sitting too far back, not only is it really hard on your leg, but it also means that you have to take dabs in the ruts, and when you do, you generally start to lose your balance and your leg actually gets caught in the ruts. You lose your balance and you end up crashing. It's a mistake I see a lot of people making, but it's actually quite simple to fix. All you need to do is sit further forward on the bike. All the pro riders you'll see racing bikes will all be sitting towards the front of the bike. Now when I say that, I don't mean sitting on the fuel cap, because that's way too far forward and the weight is actually too far. You need to be sitting right in the center of the bike. If you look at the bike, the center of gravity of this bike is from the foot peg all the way up, that's right there. That's where you need to be sitting in corners, because that's where the bike is going to be most balanced. When you sit there like that, you're in a good strong position with your elbows up. That is where the bike is going to be most balanced when you start to turn it over, lean over in the corner. You might have seen other riders actually use a bump for this. So what they do is take the seat cover off and actually fit a bump underneath the seat cover on top of the seat foam. Creates a bump, and that's like their reference point. So whenever they sit in a corner, that's the reference point, so they can't actually go further back. But I think the best practice is if you learn where to sit yourself, it's a lot more beneficial and you'll remember it more in the future. So just to recap, sit further forward on the bike, your back nice and straight, ready to hit some corners. So tip number 5 is all about your arms, your chest and your shoulders. Now how many of you guys struggle with arm pump? I know it's a big problem in motocross and enduro, and it's actually quite simple to fix in my opinion. Elbows up. In the seated position, you need to be sat at the front of your bike, but you need to have your elbows up in a strong position. If you're ever in a gym lifting weight or doing a bench press, you're never doing a bench press with your elbows tucked into your body. You're always in a strong position, pushing the bar against you, and that's what you need to do. You're trying to ride a bike that weighs over 100 kilos. You need to be in a strong position to be able to control it, and that all comes from having your elbows up, your chest pointed out, and your back nice and straight. If you've got your back rolled like this, your shoulders forward, your elbows down, you've got no control. If that bike starts to lose control or get away from you, you have no control over that bike. If you rotate your chest up and out, your back's nice and straight, shoulders back, and your elbows are up, you're in a really strong position. If ever you hit a bump, you've got it all in your arms, nice and strong. But guys, remember that arm pump is such a big problem in motocross and enduro, because people aren't using the other techniques correctly, whether that be in the hips, their knees, their ankles. It all works together. So if you're standing on the balls of your feet, gripping with your knees, your hips are rotated out, your back's nice and straight, your chest is up, and your elbows are out, you literally don't really need to hold on with your hands, because your body is so strong in that position, and that is called the attack position. If you get that position dialed when you're riding a motorbike, you'll be so much better rider and so much faster at the end of it. So just to recap, when you're sitting down and holding on, have your elbows up, your chest out, your back nice and straight, and hopefully that can help you with some of your arm pump. So guys, that is the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. That was 5 tips to make you a better and a faster rider. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya!